What does basketball mean to me? It means pretty much everything. It means opportunity. It means the sense of community.
For me, it's family, it's people. Being around winners and like-minded competitors.
It's a passion. It's a dream for a lot of kids. I guess for myself, it's kind of like a purpose.
Basketball has never gotten the recognition it deserved within the city. The Greater Toronto Area has always had an underlying passion for the game, but never got the spotlight. There were few individuals who believed that they could change that narrative. With years in the making, watch how they flip the script.
Obviously, being in Canada, we're more of a hockey country, a hockey town, being in Toronto, of course. But for me, it was always about hoops. And so it was always about, hey, how do we give more exposure to young kids doing well in basketball? I remember, we had a show called Sportsline on Global TV, probably before you guys' time, but it was the only place showing, and I think the CNN show, Fred Hickman and those guys, were the only two shows that were showing really basketball highlights. So we had to, we were outside playing around, doing our thing, and we always ran home because we knew 11:30 Sportsline was coming on, and that was the only time we were going to be able to see NBA, because all of a sudden, we saw, Jordan and Magic and Showtime Lakers, and from there, that was just wow, what is this sport? And, we had to make sure we got home to watch any highlights we could. That's how rare. There wasn't any internet. There wasn't, hour-long sports shows or hour-long basketball shows. It was just, hey, you get 5 minutes maybe of the highlights, and that's your fix for the night. And but it's amazing to know that little access we had kind of just spawned somehow the growth in this sport. A seminal moment in Canadian basketball was that Adidas Super 64 tournament that Grassroots won. It's over 10 years ago, and it was key because that was the moment, I think, when Canadians realized we can play with America, that we went down and won one of the most prestigious tournaments ever. Coach Ro Russell, a lot of guys, Dwight Powell, Tristan, Mike Kabongo, all these guys really set the table for Canadian basketball. And you can look at it just after that huge win, the confidence level. You had CIA Bounce come after that and go down there and win a lot in the EYBL. And then you had Canada Elite come on board, and they had players like, Thon Maker come through there. And now, you have your Orangeville Preps that, Jamal Murray and Thon played there as well. And you have a lot of players in D1 out of that program.
On Point, on location. Hi, my name is Drew Ebanks, and you're watching On Point.
I was filming and editing content myself, and I noticed there were these commercials on NBA TV Canada, or I think it was Raptors TV back in the day. I was like, man, I got to find out who is doing that. And it was a guy named Jay Irving. And I said, hey, I have this idea. It's features on our Canadian talent. And I think On Point, that's the name, man. It's got to be called On Point. I always say in Canadian basketball, there's a million stories to tell in this sport in Canada.
The stories to tell about GTA ball are endless. One of the areas with the richest stories comes from the GTA's most diverse city, Scarborough.
Scarborough means to me, it means everything. Scarborough is forever kind of where I consider home. And it's the people. It really is the people. It is the one place in this city that has its own identity, that has its own culture. Right now, I wouldn't call Scarborough a mature basketball community. It's still growing. But I think within 5 years, this might be the most competitive market in the world. No exaggeration. I'm already seeing kids come from the US to play here. So that's starting to happen, where Americans are coming to prep schools in Toronto, are coming to prep schools in Scarborough. That didn't happen before. That was unheard of before. But that's starting to happen. I'm old enough to remember Jamal McGlure. And he was kind of one of the first people that came out of Scarborough and made the NBA. And he had to go to Kentucky. He had to leave Canada to become successful. There's so much competition now. Since then, it's only been about 20 years. But in 20 years, the competition is so high here that some of the top prospects no longer have to leave. Like they no longer have to leave. Like if you look at Elijah Fisher, Elijah Fisher, you know what? He's probably a one and done player. He'll probably be in the NBA in 2 years. He didn't leave Canada. He finished his entire high school career in Canada. They're not at Montverde. They're not at IMG in Florida. No, they're right here in Scarborough. And these are the best in the world. And they're not leaving. They're no longer leaving. There's no need to leave.
I moved to Scarborough Blues, which was a dream of mine because they were the, I guess, provincial champions all the way from grade 7, which was my class, until grade 12. So playing with them really helped develop me because I was playing with the best players in the country. So yeah, it was just a really competitive group of girls, and I'm really happy to be a part of that organization, and they're still my friends to this day.
The first thing I did when I started my company back in 2006 was I made a point of it to stay in Scarborough. And I wanted to set an example that you don't have to go somewhere else to be successful. You can be successful here.
Although Sam decided to stay home and build his company within the city, he's also been seen as a hometown hero regarding the growth of the sport within Scarborough. Through his creation of the Playground Global, Sam had given back to his community by putting basketball first.
I decided to build a basketball court, not knowing that it was going to become a brand, not knowing that I was going to take it to multiple locations. But this area, this part of our economy is so underserved. We saw the demand and we saw how many people were interested. Basketball only, basketball first facilities. We started opening them across the province.
Clearly, the talent in Scarborough has gained a global reputation. Now, let's bring it to the City of Flowers, Brampton, which has been crucial to the growth of this game. And that tale cannot be told without two figures who have been at the forefront of this change.
The landscape of basketball, when I started teaching in 2008, was crazy. It was awesome. I was coaching junior basketball at the time, and Campion versus Douville was the thing. And I knew that if I ever got that opportunity, I wanted to take a Campion team and beat a Douville team and create that success like they were having.
You wanted to beat each other on the court, but then off the court it was respect.
Yeah, well, I had the respect for what he had done at Douville and the integrity of his program, and the amount of players that they got out to the next level.
The dominance of Douville and Campion set a tone for regional growth of basketball. This has solidified their identity throughout the West End. On the other hand, the female side of the game is also uprising.
Talent would just be lost in the mix. They could have been to the NBA. They could have been a WNBA player, but they didn't get scouted because scouts didn't even know they existed because, this is the 90s or this is the 80s. And a lot of times American scouts weren't even looking at Canada, thinking that Canada is this barren place that nobody plays basketball. They don't even know what that sport is, even though a Canadian invented it. I've seen women that definitely should have taken the next step to go to the States, or could potentially have been to the States or been to Canada, and they should have played pro after.
I think that the development has risen so much from when I was in high school. I think that so many more teams have joined the OSBA program, and women's basketball in high school is just increasing so much every year talent-wise, and you hear about it a lot more every year.
The game is growing at an alarming rate, and there has been one important figure that has caused this effect.
It's the Carter effect.
I think the Carter effect was paramount.
The rise of the Raptors, Vince Carter effect.
I think the Raptors coming to Toronto in 1995 gave kids real hope, because back in my day, there wasn't much hope for you to get a scholarship and make it to the NBA. And then as soon as 95 came, kids were sitting in the stands and kids were seeing it, up close.
I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see what the 2019 effect was of the Raptors winning the championship. because that really united all of Canada to sit together at home and watch this championship run that was so exciting, that was, you know, marked by the Kawhi Leonard shot. And so, yeah, so I think we're going to see a new crop of talent just come up and be inspired from that moment. And we're going to hear about it later.
For me, like, the possibility of being a professional basketball player didn't exist. It was never even considered, but everybody grew up thinking that I'm going to be the next Wayne Gretzky or Lemieux Marc Messier. Whereas I think now these kids coming up, you know, looked and said, I'm going to be the next Vince Carter, I'm going to be the next Jamal Murray, I'm going to be the next Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, to the next Ben Mathurin or the next Shaedon Sharpe. You know, like, it's kind of switched to that this is a reality for them.
The impact the Toronto Raptors have had on the basketball journeys of young athletes in this city has been tremendous. Opportunities within the community have formed since the Raptors have set the stage, inspiring the next generation to flourish at the highest level. Rising stars in the form of two twin brothers are here to represent the future of GTA ball. From Hamilton, Ontario, training at Orangeville Prep School, Jalik and Janai Dunkley Diston are the next pair of generational talent.
Growing up, I mean, I've had uncles, cousins, basically everyone played basketball. But someone that really inspired me to continue to do this game is obviously my pops. I've seen him hoop and all that. He was nice, but he didn't get to really, you know, finish his career. So I feel like that's my job. I'm gonna finish it for him. So that's kind of where it comes from. And speaking on behalf of Janai, I think it's kind of the same thing. You just want to make a family proud and just, you know.
But the way how everything happened with me is just, I started playing like football, soccer, and then I was watching him hoop, so I was like, I'm gonna jump on the same wave and go join my brother, because like I know it's gonna be fun. So, and after all of that, I just started taking it serious. You know, I can make something out of it. But I'm not only just doing it because, like, you know, just because I want to hoop. I'm doing it because I want to finish my dad's stuff, my dad's footsteps.
I really think Hamilton has underrated hoopers. Most definitely, like, majority of the hoopers always come from Toronto, but I feel like Hamilton is really slept on. Like, we have a lot of dogs, especially Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 30 big dog points per game. That's an all-star right there. That's a Canadian Hamilton all-star. When I see Shai dropping 30 points and being able to go to the NBA, like, if Shai can do that, why can't I? And I still hear stories to this day, even when Shai's in the NBA, that at first he wasn't good and this and that, but I'm good now. Why can't I be great? So if I'm ahead of them when he was my age, then I can definitely do it. So just seeing Shai pave that way for me is very, very important. So that's what kind of that's what I'm trying to do. Some people obviously like, oh yeah, there's exposure in America. I think we generally have the same exposure. Obviously, Orangeville Prep, Basketball Association, obviously we travel worldwide. Like, we go to Bahamas, all of those good places. So I mean, it's really the same thing as Montverde, IMG, all of those same guys, and we still play the same top players. It would only make sense and just put on for our country. Why not put on for Canada? Put Canada up even more on the map with Shai, all of those, Tristan Thompson, all of those guys, Anthony Bennett. Why not?
I would just say, like, basketball is a sport that you can't like it, but you have to love it in order to want to do what you want to do. Like, you actually have to want it. Just put your all. Just put your focus on basketball. Don't worry about what's going on the outside. I would say, like, same with girls. Don't worry about no girlfriend. Make basketball your girlfriend. When I was young, copy this guy all the time. He's like, oh, basketball is a girlfriend. I'm like, oh yeah, basketball is my girlfriend too. What do you mean? And then, Nick, you know, just that's how we made love for the game. So you just gotta make love for the game. Once you love it, you're not gonna be able to stop.
My brothers don't die, we just rusty bark. I tell your girl to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a facial just to top it off. Ay, my brothers don't die.
Things are always going to get tough, no matter what level you're trying to get to, right?
In the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a facial just to top it off. Ay, you ain't got a clue.
We saw the street hockey nets out in the middle of the road switch over to the basketball nets at the end of everybody's driveway.
Looking at my girl like what a goddess. Thank God. Rule number 2, don't make the promise.
Coaches want to see how you interact with your family. Are you a good person outside of the basketball court? Do you have good manners? So those are things to keep in mind.
There's always a way to get to your end goal. It's not going to be a straight line. Sometimes if you're lucky it could be, but for the most part it's rarely a straight line.
We need winners. We need people that care about everybody else around them, not just themselves.
We have a great attitude. We don't get in trouble. We just kind of put our heads down and work hard. So that's just, I'm proud just to see them living out their dreams.
These kids are all staying in Canada, and they're on every board. Every recruitment board, every draft board, they're number 1, number 2. ESPN ranks them right in the top 10. And these are the best in the world.
My brothers don't die, we just rusty bop. I tell you, I got to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a face just to top it off. My brothers don't die, we just rusty bop. So much rusty, I might open up a rusty shop. Mommy saying that I need to get some sleep. All this flying overseas is always fucking up my body clock. And all this stress has got me racking up my brain. So tell these little fishes back up off my name. I ain't gotta be a rapper with a chain, cause the rules are kinda different when you're badding up the game. Straight, badding up the game, bad it up again, yeah. Had him up before, I have him up again, yeah. Fake brothers, man, your man and more pretend, yeah. Pussy by himself, he's battle with his friends. You man are so insecure, man, it's a joke. I need a ball in the York, cause I'm the goal. If you believe in your source, then raise a toast. These are some genius thoughts, so make the most. Told her, say me some. I need all the homage, could you pay me some? Man, I'm dropping bangers on your baby mums. Girls say I'm rude, they wanna see me nude. My name's Stiff Chocolate, I got nothing left to prove. I got holes in my lapel, rubbing shoulders with your girl. Which one of said that I will go to jail? Well, I guess you have to hold the L. Tell them this is London City, we the hottest in the world. What we telling them, look, my brothers don't die, we just rusty bop. I tell you, I got to link me at the coffee shop. Getting freaky in the sheets, we're taking body shots. Then I finish with a facial just to top it off. My brothers don't die, we just rusty bop. I tell you, I got to link me at the coffee shop.